Hey there. In this video, I'm going to talk about conscious relationships and how we can learn to spot the validation vampire. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Heidi with Shamaya Tantra, where it's my job to give you the relationship tools to get the relationships you crave, whether that's with your boss, your beloved, or even your big toe. A couple months ago, I did a video on what is your valid or your dominant dating program, validation or becoming. I had a lot of questions about this, so I wanted to clarify a little about the becoming program, how we can use relationships as a path of evolution. If you want to watch the original video and find out what these two dominant dating programs are, you can head over to YouTube and go to Shamaya Tantra. You'll see that in many other videos. So the dominant determines how you are in relationship, and our default tends to be validation. And this is where I am saying and doing things that are going to get what I need from you. Whether that's you stay with me, you tell me that I'm good enough. There are these secret codes always happening between the lines and underneath our interactions in relationships. Now, if you've got the validation vampire thing going on right now, don't worry. It's natural. It's actually just a small part of you that didn't get what it needed. It's just the part that's kind of locked in the basement starving, and you haven't yet learned how to feed it. So that's a lot of what I do with my clients is we do something called shadow work. And we find out how to pull these little validation vampires out of the cold, dark basement and give them love and give them what they need. And this magical thing happens with the validation vampire. It actually transforms. It actually transforms into a gift. And I have clients who've had something bothering them for years. Sometimes it's a dominant theme of a lifetime. And it turns out that this is just the exact setup that their soul needed to give their biggest gift. This is the beauty of shadow work, is our deepest wound or issue is actually just a setup for how we can exercise our muscles to give the gifts that we're here to give. Having said that, the validation vampire doesn't get us where we want to go in relationships, right? I mean, how many times have you felt that reaction coming from that place of neediness and it ended well? So I want to share with you a little today about how we can go more into the becoming side, run our life and our dating on the program of how do I become? How do I become the person that I'm here to be? And Tantra is actually a process of becoming who we truly, really are as worship. Because our purpose of being here is to express our individuality, to allow the source to be its fullest, biggest, most differentiated and unique self. So every time you have a new thought, every time you have a new way of being, you're actually expanding existence. You're expanding the divinity. So this can actually be your spiritual practice. And relationships are so valuable for spiritual practice, aren't they? Because it's very easy to feel enlightened when you're sitting in a cave alone meditating. You know, it's very easy to feel like, I've got no triggers. You know, I think I've worked through it all. I've got all my childhood stuff dealt with. I think I'm enlightened. But put me in relationship with someone where they're mirroring me, it's likely to be a different story, isn't it? And relationships are exactly that. They're a mirror. So when you're dating someone, you're seeing yourself reflected, and you're going to see all the parts of you that you don't want to be. And unless you've done a lot of shadow work, you're probably going to project that back onto them. It's a fascinating way that we survive, that our psyche has developed us to survive, is when something's pointed at us, and we don't like that part of ourselves, for our identity to remain intact, we have to point that outside. So we tend to take our finger and point it at the other and say, you're like this. Oh, I hate that about you. You need to fix that. When it's actually identifying a piece of us that's not integrated yet, perhaps that part of our inner child that's still locked in the basement hasn't been accepted yet, or something that we haven't yet worked through that just decided to push aside and pretend isn't true about us. Partners can also mirror back our golden shadows, which are our gifts, the things that maybe we are born to do, we're very good at, but we haven't fully stepped into yet. So we often tend to see people that we're dating in very binary ways. You know, they're the things that are amazing about the things that they should change, and both of them are actually reflections of us. So, how to step into the becoming program. So the first thing is to realize, A, relationships are a spiritual practice, and that becoming your authentic self is a form of worship. Secondly, it's to recognize that the people we're interacting with are mirrors. Whether we're seeing something we consider ugly in the mirror or something we consider beautiful, it's just us being reflected, right? We know this. If you subscribe to the kind of we are all one theory, you know this intellectually, but do you know it on a day-by-day basis? When someone's speaking to you, are you seeing that it's you reflected back? So the second thing is to become more aware. Not, all the time. We're not expecting ourselves to be enlightened today or tomorrow or even next year, but starting to recognize maybe once a day that, oh my gosh, this person's reflecting back to me. What part of myself are they reflecting back to me? And thirdly, it's important to decide who you want to be. That's what the Becoming program is all about. It's about getting your validation internally. The big fear and why the validation vampire takes the wheel is because I'm looking for validation from you. And the only reason I'm looking for validation from you is because I don't have it from me. And I want you to think about this really carefully. This is a contemplation point. But every time you act from validation, you're rejecting yourself in some way. Yeah, every time you act out of authenticity with yourself, you're rejecting yourself. And the very most important person to not be rejected from is you, right? You're the only one who knows where you're at. Tantra is a funny practice because there's actually no way to know who's practicing Tantra from the outside. Someone can be, doing all the right things and wearing all the right clothes and saying all the right things. They're not doing any Tantra, real Tantra. But someone can be thrashing around, becoming who they are, being authentic, and it's easy to judge them. But they may be doing the deepest form of Tantra. So the question is, are you going to commit to you and not rejecting yourself as your spiritual practice? And if that becomes your choice, then it's important to decide, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And use your relationship as the opportunity to be you fully. So how does this work? Well, we find ourselves against so many pivot points in relationship. What am I going to say in this text? How am I going to respond? I'm triggered. What am I going to do? Well, decide who you want to be and use that as your measuring stick. So if you want to be someone who expresses yourself, then when the opportunity arises and your validation vampire is saying, don't say that, that's going to sound really immature, that's going to sound really bad, that's not going to get me what I want, you're going to pause and say, oh, but that is truly expressing. That's who I'm becoming. And you're going to do that thing anyways. Risk being rejected by the other, but not reject yourself, right? Let's say maybe your desire, you want to become pure love. Then everything that happens in your relationship, everything that happens in conversation, and your reaction will be measured against this yardstick. And love is a lot more complex than it sounds, right? Love is not about being a doormat. Love is not about always saying yes. Love is not about being agreeable. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say goodbye. So what if who you really, really want to become is someone who's expanding? If you want to expand, well, everything you do comes from there, right? You're not going to be playing it safe. You're not going to be saying the thing that smooths things over. And most importantly, you're not going to be doing the same things that you've always done. So if that's who you want to become, is someone who's expanded, then you're always going to do the thing that scares you in relationship. You're going to know your usual ways of connecting, of seducing, maybe of initiating intimacy, and you're going to find a new and more daring and courageous way to do that. Now, if we're all operating under our becoming program, it's really helpful to know that about each other and to create evolutionary partnerships, evolutionary relationships, where we have consent that, yeah, this is my spiritual practice. So this isn't something you have to do on your first date, but it can be really helpful to understand where your partner is coming from, to understand what are they becoming. And a big piece is integrity. So I used to think that integrity meant that someone always did what they said they would, that they remained predictable, that they did everything that matched up my moral book of what was right and what was wrong. But I learned that this is not integrity. This is just somebody behaving the way that I want them to behave, which has nothing to do with conscious relationship. Integrity is checking in with your own soul, with your own program of becoming and where you want to go as a soul, and acting in accordance with that. So if your becoming program is expression, you might change your opinion. You might have a revelation on a daily basis and behave in a completely different way. From the outside, it can look like a lack of integrity, but really, it can be the very highest integrity. So we can use this to have compassion, understanding the people we're interacting with. We can start to be curious about who they are really. What is their becoming program? Who are they becoming? And measure their actions against that yardstick of integrity, not our personal book of moral codes, not of who we want them to be to make our life easier. So if you're interested in going deeper with this stuff, I have a men's program that's got spaces available right now for men who are looking to expand with the tools of Tantra, of sacred sexuality, sexual empowerment, and shadow work. Also, you can join me at my weekly meditations. They are on Thursday nights. We do a guided visualization every week. And if you want to do something new, there's an online Tantra festival coming up on June 1st. Details about all these things will be on Shamaya Tantra. You can watch past videos on Shamaya Tantra at YouTube. And I will see you next time. Stay connected to your program of becoming. See you soon.